People are politically incorrect and gentlemen. In my opinion, Rickey L. Cole, chairman of the Mississippi Democrat Party, and New Jersey reporter Sean Bergin are right. What did these guys say? First, let's get to Rickey L. Cole. He had some harsh words for the obese former two-term governor of Mississippi, Haley Barbour. He said, among other things, about the GOP infighting in Mississippi over the Chris McDaniel Thad Cochran Senate runoff. And I quote, "Genteel old Thad Cochran is Haley Barbour's puppet. Haley Barbour is an insatiably greedy hog who has spent his entire life using the federal and state governments as his personal ATM machine. His cronies brag that boss hog Haley owns Mississippi. Again, let me get really plain with you. A fat, greedy, unprincipled old boar hog has rooted up our crops in Mississippi for far too long. My mission in life is to catch that big fat boar, cut him, and fry him out for lard. If you can show me how to do that without getting a little dirty, then you know a lot more about hogs and mud than I do." End quote. Imagine if Rush Limbaugh or Glenn Beck or Michael Savage or Bill O'Reilly or Tom Woods or anybody that the hypersensitive progressive left disagrees with said that about, say, Charlie Rangel or Barney Frank or something. They would have a fit. It's true, Mississippi has been using Washington, not just Haley Barbour, as its personal ATM, as have most states, but they are one of the worst. According to the Mercatus Center, federal contract-funded private sector jobs in Mississippi are 5.9% of the total, much more than most states. The national average is only 2.7%, so Mississippi is one of the biggest benefactors of federal contracts. Public sector and federal contract jobs as a percent of total jobs in Mississippi comes out to a whopping 28.2%, well above the national average of 19.2%. So the economic situation in Mississippi would be much, much worse if Mississippi wasn't digging into Washington's piggy bank, but as you'll see, a lot of states do that. Most of them do it. Not as bad as Mississippi, but pretty close. The federal government throws him a lot of pork, and having Thad Cochran in the Senate for 36 years for crying out loud has helped Mississippi bring home the bacon from taxpayers in 49 other states. There's my cat looking for some attention. I will also mention the 17th Amendment. If it wasn't in the Constitution, Thad Cochran wouldn't be in the Senate for 36 years. I wonder if Mr. Cole is going to work to fix that. Will he shun federal pork and make Mississippi stand on its own? Perhaps he should run for governor on that platform. Will he run a campaign based on federalism? Let's hope so. However, this porkathon, this mindset of Mississippi living off taxpayers in 49 other states and getting gobs of money from Washington didn't start with Haley Barbour. Mr. Cole omits the fact that Mississippi's House of Representatives have been in Democrat hands, in fact the legislature en masse, since Reconstruction. In January 2012, for the first time since Reconstruction, the Mississippi legislature was in GOP hands. All the links are underneath the video, by the way. Prior to that, Democrats have controlled both chambers, or at least one, since Reconstruction. Mississippi's also had, since the 70s, its fair share of Democrat governors. In fact, before Barbour, they completely dominated. As Barbour served 2 terms, now they've got another Republican governor. Does Mr. Cole think that the governor or any chief executive is some sort of monarch? If so, he's ignorant. Barbour never had a GOP legislature, so the credit for Mississippi's demise would fall to the Democrats, at least in part. Funny that he should leave that out. Any spending done at the state level in Mississippi would have to be passed by the legislature first, unless Mr. Cole isn't aware of the separation of powers. Maybe he thinks Hussein Obama's a monarch too. Hussein Obama thinks he is. Mississippi gets around 45% of its operating revenue from Washington, and that was a huge problem long before Haley Barbour was in the governor's mansion there. In fact, most states, whether Republican-dominated, Democrat-dominated or otherwise, get over one-third of its operating revenue from Washington. Mississippi is one of the worst cases, obviously, but as Washington continues to bail out many states, who will bail it out when the bill for our interest payments, runaway defense spending, entitlement programs, and welfare state come due? Mr. Cole did a fine job of critiquing Haley Barbour. He just left a lot of stuff out that he should have mentioned, but he was too busy being a partisan hack, just like Boss Hog Haley Barbour. Now, moving on to Sean Bergin. Who is Sean Bergin? He's a reporter from New Jersey who blew a gasket while on air reporting about a memorial set up for a cop killer. Here's the background. The wife of a New Jersey cop killer has only one regret, that her now dead husband killed only one cop. He should have taken more with him, said Angelique Campbell, the alleged killer's wife. If they were going to stand over my husband and shoot him like a bleeping dog, he should have taken all those mother bleepers out. Now a New Jersey reporter may lose his job. He did quit. For losing his cool when he reported those comments, news reports say before the shooting, Campbell bragged he was going to be famous. Bergin, reporting during a voiceover, then lost his cool. I might have done the same thing. He said, quote, "It is worth noting that we were besieged, flooded with calls from police officers furious that we would give media coverage to the wife of a cop killer. We decided to air it because it is important to shine a light on the anti-cop mentality that has so contaminated America's inner cities. This same sick, perverse line of thinking is evident from from Jersey City to Newark to Patterson to Trenton. It has made the police officer's job impossible, and it has got to stop. The underlying cause for all of this, of course, young black men growing up without fathers. Unfortunately, no one in the news media has the courage to touch that subject," end quote. Within a few hours, Bergin was suspended, pending a possible dismissal. As I said, he did quit. Gave an interview to The Blaze. Go ahead and read that. I've got the link for that under there. I believe most police officers are good guys, and I should also mention end the war on drugs. That would keep a lot of innocent, victimless blacks out of prison, and whites. It would help a lot of these inner cities. Not a total reversal, I don't think, but it would make our violent crime rate and homicide rate plunge even further than it has from the late 80s and early 90s. So let's end the war on drugs. That will help the inner city a little bit. Aside from that, I do believe most police officers are good guys, only doing their job and trying to protect the public. There are bad apples in the barrel, obviously, but most of them are good. Even if a lot of them are bad, that doesn't excuse Lawrence Campbell's actions. He's a byproduct of his culture. As I've elucidated in some of my videos, more than 70% of black children are born out of wedlock. It's been well over 50% for decades. Whose fault is that? 60% of black children live in a home where both parents are not present, or where one of them's not present. 60% of them, and it's usually the mother that's there. The father is a baby daddy. Whose fault is that? Is it my fault, and should I pay for it? Mr. Bergin was suspended and criticized by some for telling the truth. Most black children that grow up poor do so because their mother is a baby-making machine, hanging around with some wannabe rapper baby daddy who isn't qualified to run his own life, let alone raise a child. And the welfare state, of course, has exacerbated that. Mr. Bergin told the horrible, awful truth, and so did Mr. Cole, and was suspended for it. He and Mr. Cole are to be commended for telling the unadulterated truth. Have a nice day, and don't thank me now.